those are maybe the two ways I kind of see actuaries be able to venture out. Is either rely on the technical skill set or maybe rely more on the insurance knowledge.
Hi, Henry. Thanks for being here today. So first, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Henry Ding Liu. I am a Canadian FCAS currently working in the United States. For the past 6 months, I've been working for Amazon as pricing actuary. And it's been some of the most interesting work I've done, and really excited to be here and maybe talk to you more about that.
Yeah, so can you share with us how you landed your job working in Amazon? Because it's definitely not a typical company that we think that like actuary would work in, because like as we all know, like actuaries normally work for like traditional insurance companies and maybe consulting companies and those similar.
Yeah, it was probably more luck than anything else. I was looking for a job in the Pacific Northwest because that's where I grew up, and this one just kind of came up, and they were looking for kind of the exact experience that I had, which was in commercial auto and in workers' compensation. And those were the two lines of business that I worked on the most at my last job. And there were also a lot of, quite a lot of similarities between my last job and what they were looking for, which is somebody who can kind of come in and stand up a whole actuarial function from the ground up. At my last job, I was the first pricing actuary there, and I stood up a whole pricing department over time, and that's kind of what Amazon was looking for. And the last thing, I think I just spent a lot of time preparing for the interview. If you Google Amazon interview, there are a lot of different articles and tutorials on how much Amazon emphasizes the leadership principles, how much that goes into the interview. And I spent a lot of time writing answers, preparing answers, rehearsing, making sure that I had good and concise examples to show what I was capable of, and I think all that paid off in the interview process, and that's how I was able to land this job.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I would say like to be successful in a job interview is all about like preparations and being able to sell your own experience and your personality and skill set and stuff. So definitely effort pay off. And I guess we are all kind of interested to know like the roles of actuaries in Amazon. Like, would it be the same in traditional insurance company where you have different department in pricing valuation, or it's just like a little bit more specific and tailored to like a technology company?
So I think where Amazon's probably fairly unique amongst all the technology companies, that Amazon has a very robust global brick and mortar presence. We have warehouses, we have data centers, we have cars on the road delivering all the packages. So all of that, as soon as you get into the real world, then all of those assets require protection, require insurance. So Amazon has a very large insurance portfolio, and there's a whole team of people dedicated to managing that portfolio of insurance policies and coverage, whether it be internally reinsured or externally placed. And my role was conceived to kind of come in and help assess the quantitative nature of these insurance placements, make sure that we're putting in the right budgets, we're monitoring the right things. And so it's really not that different. The core nature of the work is really not that different from what anybody would do at a traditional insurance company. And just that everything that I work on is a policy for Amazon itself or for one of Amazon's third-party partners. So I would say the work itself is really not that not that different from what anybody would work in at a primary insurer.
Okay, so but I guess the product is like self-insure in a way for Amazon. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about like your current day-to-day work or responsibility further?
Yeah, so it's really not as nearly as glamorous as maybe what it sounds like. My day-to-day right now is probably 90% spent on data. Looking for the right data, talking to different stakeholders and different data owners understanding the different availability, granularity of data. Before I came here, the data were all aggregated at a pretty high level. They're only kind of used for financial reporting purposes, and that didn't really lend itself to very detailed actuarial analysis. So I've had to go in and try to figure out where I can get more granular data, and so that's really kind of pretty much most of my most of my day, and then I have some analyses mixed in there using the data that we do have, pricing, reserving, just a wide variety of different analyses. And then Amazon also has a very robust writing culture. So we don't do presentations. Like I've very rarely worked in PowerPoint since I joined. Everything gets written up in a memo or in a document. So a lot of my time is spent on writing in Word, and trying to craft a narrative around why we need to do this, what we're doing, what are the next steps, what are the benefits, things like that, to convince internal stakeholders that this is the right path to go down or this is the right decision to make. So that's probably been most of my day-to-day for the last 6 months.
I see. Yeah. Well, I know my job requires a lot of presentation, and I think that's typically how other corporate jobs are as well. But if I have to compare between presentation and report memo writing, I'm not sure which one I prefer either. Yeah.
That's a when I first heard about the writing culture, I was also a little bit skeptical. But actually, I think I prefer the writing route instead, because you get more time to really hone in and craft your message. It's not about what's looking what's the prettiest looking graph. It's not about what's the glossiest looking deck of slides. It's about how you can boil your message into short, concise paragraphs and string together a history of a program or the in and outs of analysis in a way that you can explain to any audience. So and also you can lean much more heavily on numbers, because obviously when you're in a presentation, that's not really the best avenue to explain a full table of numbers in a document. It's much easier to do that. So I've actually really come around to the idea, and I think it actually introduces a lot more rigor and a lot more discipline to running a business. So yeah, I mean and also it's really easy for other people to come on board and catch up on everything that the team has been working on, because you just have to read the documents that's been written for the past few months, and then you'll know how everybody is how everything is functioning. Versus if you just have slides, then reading through slides doesn't give you nearly the full flavor of the presentation, right? So it's actually a very nice way to document and make sure that the work that we do kind of stays there, and even after maybe the person has move on to other roles.
That makes sense. Yeah, I do agree that I think report format, then you do get a lot of details in, which in a more technical role that would be more helpful, and also for documentation and everything too. Yeah, so it's interesting to see like different companies do have different culture and everything. So now that we're talking about like the job of like your roles in Amazon is quite similar to like a traditional insurance company, but what about anything else, the environment, anything else different that you find, maybe just the support for the actual resources or the exams or the advancement overall?
So we don't really have an actuarial team. I'm my own team here, and we don't really have a kind of an exam program either. So I think all of that maybe eventually we'll get there, but not currently. And I think the one thing that's different working at Amazon than working anywhere else, and I think a lot of Amazonians can attest to this, which is just that there are unequivocally more work to be done than there are hours in the day. So whereas in an insurance company where maybe it's a little bit more slow paced and you have, let's say, half a dozen projects going on and you're expected to kind of hit on all of them. Here, there are dozens of projects going on at any given time. It's you're told that it's okay if you miss on some of them, as long as you make sure that the most important ones are being met. So it's kind of a it's a very fast paced environment. You have to know which are the ones that are, which projects are the ones that are critical to move forward, which ones that can maybe be pushed aside for the time being. And also it's a whole thing to be able to align with other teams, around what you do, and make sure that we're all hitting on the same major projects, and what that we're not kind of pulling in different directions between the teams, so that we end up putting our efforts in a concerted fashion towards achieving deliverables. So I think I was pretty uncomfortable the first few months, because I just felt like I was missing deadline after deadline, because I had all the other deadlines to worry about. After a while, I think I've finally gotten more used to the rhythm of it and how to communicate effectively when there are competing deadlines, and how to navigate through and make sure that the ones that I do end up spending my time on are the ones that people are that are higher priority on other folks' lists as well, so that anything that I'm not hitting is not also adversely impacting other teams as well. So I think just the fast-paced environment has been really the biggest difference and biggest struggle for my time here.
When you hit about like the fast-paced environment, and it seemed like it's also a little bit more, I'm not sure if the word like unstructured will be the right word, but I guess it's a different ways of working and managing project compared to a traditional insurance company. Would you say so?
I think what it is, it's maybe I wouldn't call it unstructured. I think even with actual analyses, I think everybody can attest to that. The same analysis you can spend a week on, or a month on, or a year on, right? So the more there's a endless depth of sophistication you can put on an analysis, but that also means that if you have to get to an answer in 5 minutes, there's also a way to have some assumptions and get to a really, really quick answer, even if that answer is not the most accurate one. So it's really about kind of juggling the amount of time you spend on different projects, and understanding what level of precision and what level of accuracy the person on the other end of the project is expecting from you, whether it's just something that they need to put into a report somewhere, or they need that to be going forward because they're going to come back and it's become a number in the budget and it's going to be reconciled against other numbers, right? So talking to the people that you're working with, and understanding what's the level of criticality, and then try to budget your time wisely, and then also try to reuse previous analyses as much as possible. Or really, I guess the other way of saying that is to make sure that every single piece of spreadsheet or code that I put together can be easily recycled for other purposes, to make sure that I'm wasting as little time as possible trying to stand up a new analysis, right? So it's not necessarily it's unstructured, just that there's just inherently so much work to be done, and that's the same with everything, with all the teams that I'm working with. So people are not expecting a perfect analysis for every single thing that I work on. Really, nor is there really enough time So just knowing which of the ones are going to be the critical ones, which are the ones are have, let's say, opportunities for future improvements, and that's kind of how you have to approach the barrage of projects that are just coming fast and furious in a fast-paced environment.
I see. Yeah, I think that actually means that you need to be more agile and to help you to make more quick decision and know how to manage the priorities and stuff. Yeah, that's definitely different than traditional insurance companies when our projects and stuff still slower pace. We know what is expecting with pricing, so the valuation, we know what is the timing of frequencies and upcoming projects in years over year are quite similar. Yeah. So any advice for actuaries or aspiring actuaries who want to venture into the technology industry or non-traditional companies? Would you say that somebody still writing exam should seek out into this field already, or should they wait until they are fully qualified and have experiences in more traditional companies?
That's a good question, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, or even some of the answers. I think for me personally, I think it really depends on what somebody wants to do by going in a non-traditional route, right? I think if somebody wants to use the actuarial tool set, meaning be able to run analyses, being able to get data, being able to put these things together. If someone's goal was to use that tool set outside of insurance, I would say like finance or even manufacturing or logistics, any one of the areas where quantitative analysis can really help a lot. If that's your goal, I think then really it'll be critical to brush up on technical skills so that so they have the sharpest belt of tools to be able to tackle any problems that come up. But if someone wants to really just kind of stay within the insurance realm, but just do insurance in different settings, then I think it's really critical to, when you're in an insurance company, to talk to as many people from different areas of doing insurance as possible, right? Accounting, finance, claims, underwriting, even billings and collections, even customer service, right? There's so much. I think insurance has so much inherent industry specific or niche specific knowledge that the more you can accumulate while you're in an insurance company, I think the more those will kind of pay dividends when somebody wants to eventually go into a different environment but still do insurance, right? So I think those are maybe the two ways I kind of see actuaries be able to venture out, is either rely on the technical skill set or maybe rely more on the insurance knowledge, because insurance really is everywhere. Maybe in a lot of places it's not big enough to warrant a full-fledged actuary, but that's becoming more and more prevalent that tech companies or insurtechs will hire. So I think it just, depending on if you want to figure out what you want your credential to do for you, whether you want the credential to say, I'm an actuary, I have a lot of insurance experience, I'll be able to help the company, or I'm an actuary, I have a lot of technical skills, I can help the company. So yeah, I think that's kind of advice that I would give is figure out what it is that someone wants to really do with their credential, which area they want to focus, and hone up that tool set as much as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thanks so much for your advice and for sharing your experiences and your insight in today's video. Thanks again, Henry.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me once again.